price tag on one of these?
More than you can afford, pal.
I've heard that somewhere before.
I don't know where. I just made it up.
Yeah. Oh man. I was actually watching the guy who, the coordinator, advisor for the first Fast and the Furious movie. I just saw a video of him today. I don't know how new it is, but he was like talking about all the discrepancies and like technical mistakes they made of all the cars and like the physical parts in the scenes and like the things that they said. And he was like breaking them all down, and he was a little rough about it too, which was good. Yeah.
It was good when we were like kids.
Yeah, he kept kind of bashing on the fact that the Eclipse, the black and green Eclipse, was like supposed to be fast in the fucking movie, but it was like the 420A, which
428 with a turbo.
Yeah. No, it wasn't even turbo.
Was it?
No, I don't. No, it was. Yeah, no, it wasn't even turbo. So here we have
Stock Miata with a single turbo on 8 pounds. There's
stock.
Nothing special about it.
Stock block.
Stock block and heads.
Plural, not singular. What was I gonna say? That some call this a hairdresser car.
It is a hairdresser car.
Because like right now, if you took your beanie off.
I have a blow dryer in the trunk.
Really?
No.
Oh. I'm gonna say if you take your beanie off and drive down the road, your hair is gonna be styled some sort of way when you're at your destination. And he's got the hair for it too. Oh shit. You look like the Viking that got an office job. Oh man. Oh man, what happened to your hood? It looks like you some vandal cut it up.
No, that part, just that section right there, I sold it on eBay. And then I put that cool sticker there. That's actually a sticker.
Oh, it looks like the Corvette CR1.
No, it's just a sticker.
You know what I noticed? I like when they do things like this to make your wipers more aerodynamic.
You actually want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
That works.
For like downforce,
if you're
or
doing like 100 mile an hour on the interstate and you turn the wipers on, they come off of the windshield.
Really?
Like they lift.
Why'd you do that at 100?
Because it started raining.
But you're doing 100. What the fuck?
So what?
All right. 100 in a Miata, no matter what, is scary. 100 in a Miata while it's raining is even scarier. 100 in a Miata while it's raining, while the wipers are trying to lift your car up, is even scarier. So I do have a question. You talked to me about what made you start the swap, but what made you get the Miata in the first place?
Well, you've known me forever, but for those who don't know me, short and basic, I've owned everything. Not literally everything, but I've owned, twin turbo pickup trucks. I owned a 240SX that was V8 swap, big single turbo, made like 700 horsepower.
I forgot about that car.
200 horsepower motorcycles. Like, I've had so many unique experiences in cars. All-wheel drive Talons, non-turbo 1.8 front-wheel drive Eclipses. Like, yep. I drove a moped at one point.
Well, I met you back in 1997.
So, yeah. So basically,
I've seen them all, but I forgot about the 240. That shit was sick.
A friend and coworker of mine has a Miata. It's a 1991. It's silver, and I was looking for a car that I could have fun with and turn into a toy, but be somewhat of a decent daily for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And he told me to consider it, so I drove his for 20 minutes or so. Just handle so good, and they're so like, they give such good feedback through the wheel that I don't want to own something that I've already owned.
Yeah.
That's not fun to me. Fun to me is do something I've never done. And the other part of it is I could have bought another 240 and I could have done, LS, big turbos, made 1,000 horsepower, but I've already done 240 V8 turbo. I don't want to do it again.
That was a 5.0, right?
Yeah. But if it doesn't work out this time, then it ruins my
I had a similar thing that I mentioned on one of my last videos where I was talking about how one thing I do not one thing I cannot relate with the rest of the Volkswagen community is all these fucking people. They get Volkswagen GTIs mostly, but you know, whatever they get, whatever model they have, they always do what everyone does. They get an intake, they get a downpipe, they go stage 2, and that's fucking it. And then they do everything else is like cosmetic and shit. And I've never been that person. You know, me and you growing up, we always just kind of modified and did what we could do. So I always wanted to do things that made my car more fun for me to drive, which was making it faster, pretty much just making it faster. And making it handle good too, but obviously this car here starts out that way. It handles great.
Yeah, well, they already, like, they're dumb as shit. They're ugly cars. They're tiny. They're not practical at all. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that.
It does, like the way your car sits, I'm not sure what's different about it from the way they look when they're stock as far as the wheels and suspension and anything else, but like the roll bar and everything looks super cool. Is your roll bar factories that you made that?
No, that was that's made by Hard Dog. It's a Hard Dog.
Bolt-in roll bar?
Yeah, I don't even remember what the brand is, but it bolts here, and then it bolts down back in there, and it bolts all the way up here as well. So it actually bolts in 6 different places.
Okay. It makes it look so cool though.
I mean, yeah.
I'd be afraid to roll over in a Miata without one.
That was a stipulation of my wife, which I wanted one anyways, but I wasn't allowed to do any performance modifications until I put a roll bar on it. So.
Because we all know how much you like to roll cars over. Well, not really.
I was gonna say I've never rolled a car.
Yeah. Close.
Yeah, I've been close a couple times.
Me and Jerry have spun out at what, 60 miles an hour in the intersection.
What you're talking about. That never happened.
Gandhi Boulevard, allegedly.
Nope.
Spinning out in the rain in his S10 because it had like literally slicks in the back.
We had to push that truck from a red light because it wouldn't move because the ground was so wet.
Yeah. Now, mind you, they weren't really slicks. They were one street tires that became so slick that it would not actually accelerate. But partially that was because the wheels were totally bald in the rain, but also because you had a kink in the throttle cable. I remember that.
Yeah.
So it was like 0% throttle and like 70 or something like that. Good times, man. We went through a lot with our adventures in the car world, that's for sure.
That was before either one of us knew anything about anything.
For the most part.
We were just kind of hoping that we had it figured out.
We knew how to tear shit apart, but that's about it. So
I put most of the bolts back in.
Most of them. Obviously, anyone who knows anything about cars knows that if you leave some of the bolts out, it's a weight reduction.
It is. It's less pieces that can rust.
I like how this thing idles. My idle almost never changes. You know, and whether it's supposed to or not, I always like a car with a rough idle. This is weird. If my car is like kind of sputtering from like a fouled out MAF sensor, I actually like it. I'm like, you know, you can just run normal, but idle like that, let's stay with that.
The reason that this idles this way is because the blow-off valve under vacuum opens to help with throttle response.
Oh.
But it creates turbulence right before the mass airflow by being open. So the idle up and down is the blow-off valve actually like closing a little bit and opening a little bit because the vacuum changes, and it's making the air turbulent go across the. If you pull the vacuum line off of the blow-off valve and cap it with your finger, it idles smooth.
Nice. Maybe I should do that trick with my car.
We figured that out on the dyno.
Really?
Yeah. Martin spent like 15 minutes trying to get it to idle right.
So, I guess let's look at the motor. I mean, this thing has been on the internet a little bit, but not on my channel. Not really. I mean, not up close. Get a little zoomed in view here. So, not the stock 1.8. 3.5 liters of V6. Is it VQ aluminum block? I forget.
It is a all aluminum block pins.
Nice. So it really doesn't weigh that much.
It's 30 pounds heavier than the stock
Damn, not bad.
Because the stock Miata motor is an iron block.
Yeah, I got an iron block too.
And because it's a V6 and not a 4-cylinder,
Yeah.
it's actually 3 inches shorter, so the weight is set further back in the chassis than the stock motor.
It's actually not a bad idea, not a bad swap then overall.
So the weight from the turbo makes about the difference from the overhang. But it's an 04 VQ35 DE, stock motor, stock bottom end, stock heads, stock everything. Has 630cc injectors, billet fuel rails, compressor regulator. It's all dash 6 AN fuel system. Marlboro 255.
Can't really see the fuel rail too much, but it's right in there. Yeah. Pretty nice.
The turbo kit is just like it's an eBay 3582. They were 114 bucks.
That's crazy. I thought they were at least like 300 bucks for an eBay turbo.
It's 114 bucks. I have more in AN lines for the cooling of the water in the turbo than in the turbo itself.
And you custom made the turbo headers, the collector that goes up to the turbo, and the downpipe and all that.
Yeah, everything's made. It's all like just regular steel just to get it done. Eventually I'm going to go to stainless.
Yeah.
But for now.
And there's your factory heat shields.
Yep, factory heat shield modified to fit over my modified lug manifolds.
Nice. Yeah. And factory 350Z 6-speed manual.
Yes.
With unbelievably short years given the 8.8 rear end.
Yeah, it's got an 8.8 out of a Mustang with carbon Kevlar reinforced clutches.
Nice. And this thing stays unbelievably straight when you're even when you're like spinning quite aggressively, it just stays straight. It really messes with your head, like because as a passenger, it's terrifying how quick it is, and I keep thinking it's just gonna like get out sideways in third gear, but it fucking doesn't. Like it has like a few degrees of stepping out, but
well, a lot of that has to do with like the chassis stuff as well, because like I didn't just toss a VQ and a stock body Miata. The whole body is all stitch welded.
yeah. So actually, I wanted to ask you about that stitch welding. What is stitch welding?
It's basically taking the just pull it off real quick. And you weld every so often, because whenever you're driving a car,
Oh, so it gets rid of that flex.
especially a unibody, you have a natural flex in the body panels.
Yeah.
So whenever you stitch weld, every so often it takes some of that natural flex out. You don't want to do a full seam weld because you do want some of the flex there, especially in case of an accident.
Yeah.
So you do stitch welding and it kind of like stiffens the whole chassis up, makes it a little bit more responsive.
Yeah. So like every like 3 inches, you got a little bit of a weld going on.
Which that was all my wife. I taught her how to weld with a MIG welder, and she went through and cleaned everything up with a wire brush and welded it all
Nice.
by herself. I showed her in like 3 or 4 spots. She worked on a couple like miscellaneous pieces in the garage, and then I set her loose on the car. She did both sides, all of underneath the hood, behind the fenders, the doors, and I don't think we did anything in the back because it doesn't really, we have the roll bar in the back.
Yeah.
But even still, the car has full chassis reinforcement underneath the frame rail reinforcements, and then it has a cross brace across for the transmission mount.
What did you have to do about the drive shaft?
It's custom made.
By you?
No, I had man, I wish I could remember the name right now. I think it's Drive Shaft Shop in Pinellas, St. Petersburg. Did it?
Well, I know Drive Shaft Shop, but I didn't think they were local. I don't know where they're at though.
There's a place in St. Petersburg. I'll have to get a name so that you can like put it in your description or something. But those guys, I recommend them 100%.
I feel like I've heard of them before.
They did an amazing job. I called him.
Yeah.
Told him I needed a drive shaft. He was busy. He called me back 10 minutes later. I crawled underneath the car and took whatever measurement he told me. I told him what transmission I had and what rear ended I had. And he had the drive shaft ready for me. Next day, it was $300.
Holy shit. Damn.
So,
next day, $300. And, so do they do axles as well or just drive shaft?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
I like your center console because you got the Innovate gauge right here.
Yeah, I have the little bezel for it, but it fell out and got stuck underneath the emergency brake, so I had to buy another one.
Oh.
Before I could like make it nice.
You got a Greddy Profect boost controller, turbo timer. Is it turbo timer or boost controller?
No, it's just a boost controller.
Okay.
And then there's 7-inch Samsung tablet. Runs the stereo.
It's badass.
Because it still has, like, the car still has power windows. It has, like, a 12-inch subwoofer with 2 amps. It's got component speakers in the doors. Like, the only thing it doesn't have is heat and AC, which I am working on.
Right now it's 41 degrees outside here in Port Richey or Newport Richey? Newport Richey, Florida? Yeah, 41 degrees
41.
in Port Richey, Florida. Which for us,
That's cold.
yeah, for Central Florida, it's fucking freezing. Like normally, we're lucky to see like 39, 40 degrees once overnight throughout the year. Like for it to be this cold December 1st is kind of abnormal. I think it's a record.
So it's dim right now because it's nighttime.
So instead of having the typical model car in your dash, you got a fucking picture on a fucking 8-inch touchscreen or
That's
whatever.
what it looked like when it was stock-ish.
Stockish. Nice. I guess we can end this video with a little test drive.
I don't see any cops, so I can do a pull right here real quick.
Yeah, just do a drive-by. Because it's too cold for me to ride passenger and freeze my balls off. And plus this car's terrifying. I did post this car on a couple videos earlier where I rode inside the car and drove it. I don't know if I got the video of me driving it, but it is fucking scary. So yeah. But don't worry, man. If a cop shows up, I'll take the fall. I'll tell him that you're a homeless guy and I hired you to drive the car by me.
Oh yeah, because that's totally gonna work.
Well, maybe. I mean, you got the long hair and the beanie. We just need to give you like a soda with a brown paper bag around it. And for those wondering, he was tuned on the dyno making with max boost, because I know that's what everyone cares about. Max boost, which is like 9.5 psi. He made, I think, 395 wheel horsepower and like 415 torque, which is insane because he weighs like 2,200 pounds. Yeah, his coolant system is very efficient. He has a little budget T51R mod on his turbo. That's an eBay GT 3582. Oh, that's gonna be the end of the video. That's sick. Jerry's VQ Miata. Look at all that smoke he left. Holy shit. It doesn't really come through on the camera, but on that first pull there was a bunch of smoke in the air. Jesus. But yeah, so this is actually the only VQ swap. Oh shit. There we go. Oh god, sounds so good. That's what VQs should sound like. Hell yeah. I believe it's the only VQ swap Miata in the world, and it's single turbo as well. That'll do it. Cut!